Lightning cracked the sky, and there it was, a soft, steady glow, dancing on the edge of the cliff like a heartbeat in the storm. Hello, friends of America Tales by Owl Tales. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, please hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss a story. Let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I love hearing from you all. On a late autumn afternoon, when rain fell in sheets and wind howled through the trees, a hiker named Jesse found himself hopelessly lost. He was no stranger to rough trails. He'd grown up wandering the Smoky Mountains with his grandpa, but this storm was different. The sky had turned as dark as midnight, and every path looked the same. Slick rocks, twisted roots, and shadows that seemed to reach for him. Jesse's pack was soaked, his boots squished with every step, and a chill ran from his toes straight to his teeth. He tried following his compass, but the needle spun wildly, as if drunk on the storm. Thunder rolled overhead, and the trees shook so hard Jesse thought they might uproot themselves from the earth. He stumbled across a narrow ravine and nearly slipped into a rushing creek. Heart pounding, he forced himself to keep moving, calling out, "Hello? Anybody?" His own voice sounded timid even to his ears. It felt like the forest was swallowing him whole. Then, through the sheets of rain, he spotted something odd. A tiny beam of light hovered near an old oak. Curious, he pushed through the underbrush. The closer he got, the more he realized it wasn't moonlight or a break in the clouds. It was an old lantern hanging from a low branch. The glass panes were cracked, but the wick burned as bright as a campfire. Jesse blinked. Who would leave a lantern here in this storm? And why was it still lit? He reached out, and the moment his fingers brushed the handle, the storm seemed to hush. The wind's howls softened, and the raindrops paused in the air, as if the lantern held its own power over the tempest. "Follow the light, but beware what it shows," a faint whisper seemed to say, carried on a breath of wind. Shivering, Jesse snapped the lantern up and tucked it under his arm. A glow spread through his palms, warm and alive. He stood still, listening. The whisper was gone. In its place, he heard his own heart, steady and strong. With no other choice, he followed the faint glow, stepping onto a narrow path he'd never seen before. The lantern shone bright, revealing the way over slippery stones and down hidden gullies. Each time Jesse thought he might lose the trail, the lantern shimmered, pointing him onward. After 10 minutes, he broke into a small clearing. There, half buried in mud, was an old trail sign, Hawk's Landing, 2 miles. Relief washed over him. He had been near the river all along. But as he bent to brush the mud from the sign, the lantern's light flickered wildly and went out. Darkness swallowed him in an instant. Rain pounded his shoulders like tiny hammers. Jesse cursed under his breath. "Not now," he mumbled. He tapped the lantern handle. Nothing. He knocked on its glass. Still nothing. Panic fluttered in his chest. He was back to square one, lost in a storm, alone. Then the lantern abruptly snapped back to life. But something was wrong. Instead of showing the path to Hawk's Landing, its light pointed to a narrow game trail leading away from the river. Jesse frowned. "Beware what it shows," the whisper came again, quieter this time. His legs felt heavy, but he took a step. The lantern's glow danced ahead, and he followed. The trees closed in, branches scraping his jacket. Every crack of thunder made him flinch. After another 10 minutes, he reached a rocky overhang. Beneath it lay a tiny cave, half hidden by ferns. Jesse hesitated. He'd never seen this cave on any map. Inside, he could see movement, a small figure huddled in the shadows. His heart leapt. A lost hiker? A runaway child? He raised his voice dry and urgent. "Hey, are you okay?" The figure shifted. A soft laugh, more like a sob and a chuckle combined, floated out. "I knew someone would come," said a voice, high-pitched and oddly gleeful. Jesse frowned as he stepped inside. A boy, no older than 10, sat cross-legged on a tuft of dry moss. His eyes shone in the lantern's light. He wore a soaked jacket too big for him, and his hair was plastered to his forehead. "Who are you?" Jesse asked. The boy grinned. "I'm the guide." "The guide?" Jesse echoed. The boy nodded solemnly. The lantern brings people here who need help finding their way. But the storm wants to trick you. It shows you things that aren't real. Jesse lifted an eyebrow. The storm? Of course, the boy said, hopping to his feet. It lives in the wind and rain when it's angry. It widens the forest so you feel lost and whispers lies to your ears. But the lantern is older. It remembers every hiker who lost their way and lights the guardrails. The boy walked closer to the lantern, peering into the cracked glass. Just don't follow it blindly. Jesse sighed. Great. I'm trusting a ghost kid in a rain cave. What could go wrong? The boy smiled. Only if he gets scared. Jesse cringed. A flashlight would be more helpful. The boy's eyes twinkled. Ah! But the lantern has history. It belonged to a ranger named Clara Hughes, back in the 1920s. She kept it burning through every storm, saved 35 people on Hawks Ridge alone. Jesse felt a shiver. That wasn't from the cold. How do you know all this? The boy shrugged. I watch. I listen. And I talk. Jesse shook out his soaked hair. Okay, Ranger Clara's lantern. Guide boy. Let on. The boy spun on his toes, pointing down a rock-strewn path curling away from the cave. This way is the real trail to Hawk's Landing. But if you listen to thunder, it might tell you to turn left, dead end, or right. It loops back. Stick to the light. Jesse lifted the lantern high. The path was muddy and steep. He watched the glow as it lit the rocks one by one. The boy trotted ahead, quiet as a deer. Halfway down, Jesse's nerves jolted. A shape loomed in the trees. He stopped. The lantern flickered and dimmed. It cast long shadows that looked like faces contorted in silent screams. Don't look, the boy hissed. Jesse snapped his head forward and pressed on. The shape moved. A branch broken. He exhaled. His muscles relaxed. See, the boy whispered. Jesse laughed, shaky. Yeah, very creepy. They reached a fallen log bridging a small ravine. The lantern's glow split in a pattern that looked like stepping stones across a gap. Cross carefully, the boy said. Jesse nodded. He placed his boot on the first stone, then the next. Midway, the lantern went dark again. Rain sluiced down and the wind roared. He froze, heart pounding, afraid the stones were slick. Jump, the boy yelled. Jesse leapt the rest of the way, landing hard on the mossy bank. He skidded but caught himself. When he looked back, the boy and the path were gone. Only the lantern's light remained, steady as ever, pointing onward. Jesse stared. Thanks, kid. I think. He kept going. The forest thinned. Trees gave way to open land, and soon he heard the distant roar of the river. The path leveled out, leading him toward a bridge he crossed countless times with his grandpa. On the other side was the trailhead. Park rangers huddled under a makeshift tarp, shouting into radios. When they saw him, they rushed over. Words tumbled from their mouths. We've been searching for hours. We thought you might have slipped into the creek. Who lit that lantern? Jesse turned to show them, but behind him, there was only darkness and rain. No lantern, no boy. He held out his hands. Empty. The head ranger, a tall woman with kind eyes, asked, Are you all right? Jesse nodded, voice thick. I think so. I saw a lantern. It showed me the way. The ranger's eyes widened. She looked around, then at the other rangers. We never found any lanterns. Jesse shrugged. It must have gone. He pulled himself together. I'm just glad to be back. They guided him to a dry spot, gave him a warm blanket and a hot cup of cider. While Jesse sipped, he couldn't shake the feeling that something had changed inside him. The storm still raged, but he felt calm, like he'd seen something magical in those woods. Back at home that night, Jesse wrote in his journal, Today I learned that even in the darkest storm, a little light can guide you. You have to trust it, even if you can't explain it. And you have to beware what it shows you, because sometimes it lets you face your own fears. The next morning, he returned to the trailhead with a fresh lantern, a modern LED model, intending to leave it hanging where he found the old one. Maybe someone else would need a spark of hope. Rain tapped the car roof as he stepped out. He hiked back up the path, heart light with purpose. But at the oak tree where he first saw the glow, there was no lantern, old or new, just the same cracked bark and dripping leaves. He hung his LED lantern there as best as he could and whispered, "Thanks, Clara. Thanks, guide boy." As he turned to leave, something caught his eye, a carving in the tree, CH 1927. He traced the letters with his finger. His heart swelled. That night, Jesse added one more line to his journal. Carry your own light, but never forget to share it. And from that day on, whenever a storm rolled in, Jesse would hike to Hawks Ridge, hang a lantern on the oak, and stand in the rain, watching the glow. Sometimes the wind would hush. Sometimes he'd swear he heard laughter. And every time he felt that spark grow, a reminder that even the smallest light can guide you home. If you enjoyed The Lantern in the Storm, please give this video a thumbs up, share it with a friend who could use a little light, and don't forget to subscribe for more American tales that warm the heart. Tell me in the comments where you're watching from, and share a moment when a small spark helped guide you through your own storm. Until next time, keep your lantern burning.